host has spent decades studying the Bible in the original languages. He holds degrees from the University of Wisconsin, Moody Bible Institute, Asbury Theological Seminary, and Bethel Theological Seminary. With the help of some of his friends, in 1994, Dr. Rako founded a national volunteer ministry to hunters. He is an author, dog trainer, and speaker. Tom served as a full-time pastor for 36 years. Now here is your host, Dr. Tom Rako.
Thanks for joining us here on the Rockdale Publications Quill. During today's program, I'll be talking a little bit about turnaround time. Do you know that God can turn things around very quickly? I'll also be sharing from my book, Devotions for Hunters and Anglers, a true story about a time when I was trapped. We hope that you enjoy today's program. What a comfort to know that God has the power to transform any situation in a short amount of time. For example, the Bible tells us about the speedy exaltation of a man named Joseph. The book of Genesis reveals that Joseph endures years of suffering. He was sold by his brothers, became a household slave in Egypt, and then was falsely accused of a heinous crime and imprisoned. However, when God chooses to step in, things often transpire quickly. And one day, probably in just a few hours, Joseph was taken from prison to being a type of prime minister. The Bible tells us in Psalm 103, verse 20, "The king sent and released him. The ruler of peoples set him free." And again, "Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He then had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shouted before him, 'Make way!' Thus he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Genesis chapter 42, verses 42 to 43. Wow, what a reversal. Later, during the wilderness wanderings, the Israelites repeatedly questioned and grumbled against their God-appointed leader Moses and Aaron. The Lord vindicated Aaron when he had the leaders of the other tribes of Israel put their staff in a tent. The Lord stated, "The staff belonging to the man I choose will sprout." Numbers chapter 17, verse 5a. God made his choice bountifully clear by miraculous growth that took place overnight. We are told Aaron's staff not only sprouted, but had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds. Numbers chapter 17, verse 8. God evidently worked the night shift in order to vindicate his servant. In the Bible, there are many other examples of immediate answers to prayer, releases from prison, physical healings, sudden catches of great numbers of fish despite the failed extensive efforts of professional fishermen, and the list goes on. Friend, be encouraged. God can also suddenly change our desperate and seemingly impossible situations. Indeed, what he has done down through the centuries, he can still do today. We need to keep looking to him. And I know sometimes we get impatient, but the fact is God has a quick turnaround time when he chooses to act. When we come back, I'll be sharing from my book, Devotions for Hunters and Anglers, a time when I was trapped.
The Quilted Arrow, home of intelligent, stylish English pointers with bloodline streams from Hall of Fame champion Guard Rail. If you have a desire to one day own a classy American-bred English pointer, the Quilted Arrow periodically has puppies available. Contact the Quilted Arrow to find out more. Or perhaps you already have a young pointer that needs help in becoming all they were meant to be. With a little investment, you can become your hunting partner's favorite trainer. There is a limited opportunity for hands-on coaching, but no worries. You can also schedule some personal FaceTime coaching. Again, If you have a strong interest in one day owning an American-bred English Pointer, or want to take the next step in helping your bird dog be all that they were created to be, visit the Rock Dove Publications website at rockdove.com. Don't delay. Visit rockdove.com today.
Trapped. Have you ever been trapped? A number of years ago, I found myself trapped in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, there were no chains, ropes, or even locked doors that kept me confined. No one was physically restraining me. Nevertheless, for a short period of time, I could not, or rather would not, leave my location. This little episode I'm talking about took place in a convention center where a large deer hunting expo was being held. There were literally thousands of people within shouting distance. Nevertheless, most of these people never knew about my predicament, and for this, I'm thankful. My problem started shortly after lunch. I needed to go to the bathroom. So seeing a restroom not far from where I had just finished eating, I hurried into a stall and sat down. I could hear the normal sounds one hears in this kind of a bathroom, such as the slamming of bathroom stall doors, flushing toilets, water running in the sink, etc. However, after a few minutes, my eye caught a glance of someone through a crack in the bathroom stall door. I could see an individual standing at the wash sink fixing their waist-length blonde hair in the mirror. I thought, that guy sure has long blonde hair. After a few moments, the person left, but I continued silently musing to myself, I like long hair, but a man having hair that long is a little ridiculous. Why, from behind, that guy looks more like a woman. Suddenly, I had this really bad feeling. I realized and then said under my breath, oh no, I'm sitting in the women's bathroom. I looked down at my man shoes, which were certainly visible from outside the stall, and cringed. I listened closely, and when things got quiet at the sink, I made a fast break for the doorway. As I came out and took a quick left, I heard someone over my right shoulder say, hey, that guy just came out of the women's bathroom. I kept walking and never looked back. Now, it's a terrible and sometimes even an embarrassing thing to be trapped. But the fact is, many in our culture, even a percentage of professing Christians, are currently trapped in some sort of sinful behavior. Countless people have been captured by alcohol, prescription drugs, pornography, or a compulsion to gamble. Millions more are controlled by an addiction for food or by eating disorders like anorexia or bulimia. Furthermore, great numbers continue to live in bondage to credit card and other types of financial debt. Wealthy King Solomon warned in Proverbs 22, verse 7, the borrower is servant to the lender. Being trapped in sin is far more serious than simply getting stuck in the wrong bathroom. Jesus said, everyone who sins is a slave to sin, John chapter 8, verse 34. The Lord warned Ezekiel, the soul who sins is the one who will die, Ezekiel 18, verse 4. Indeed, being trapped in sin results in bondage and can even result in physical death. When we come back, I'll have some closing remarks.
Dr. Tom Rako has pulled together 60 hunting and angling devotionals. Every entry has a selected Bible passage to read and a story or personal experience tied into the scriptural point. Some of the titles for entries found in devotions for hunters and anglers include Buck Fever, The Antlered Doe, Catfish Corner, Barnyard Buck, Rabbit Hunt Romance, The Prodigal Pooch, A Case of Pheasant Forensics, Once in a Lifetime Moose Hunt, and Grin and Bear It. You don't have to hunt or fish to enjoy this book. It's a great read for anyone, young or old. To order your copy of Devotions for Hunters and Anglers by Dr. Tom Rako, go to the Rock Dove Publications website, rockdove.com. Visit rockdove.com today.
Well, we looked at a time when I was trapped in a woman's restroom in Des Moines, Iowa, quite a number of years ago. A very large restroom. I don't know, there were probably 20 stalls or so. And I'm glad I escaped that situation. But maybe right now you are struggling and you are trapped. You feel that you just, there's no escape. Well, the fact is, God is able to deliver. And the good news is we don't have to live in bondage. We don't have to stay trapped. Jesus Christ himself said in John 8:36, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." And so friend, if you are trapped, I want to encourage you to look to him, to cry out to him. Maybe you're trapped in some relationship, some situation. Well, first of all, there is hope. Jesus Christ is able to help you, and I will tell you that there are people that will be able to help you as well, and they're probably not too far from you, and they're waiting to assist you in some way. And friend, I want to encourage you to look to him. Begin by looking to the Lord, and he will guide you and he will direct you. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Rock Dove Publications Quill. I hope that you'll join us again next time.
You've been listening to the Rock Dove Publications podcast with your host, Dr. Tom Rako. This program has also been brought to you by the Quilted Arrow, home of intelligent, stylish, field-bred English pointers with bloodline streams from Hall of Fame champion Guardrail. Thank you so much for listening. Now, this is Beth Rako inviting you to join us again next time on the Rock Dove Publications podcast.